This AskReddit user asks, what is the most desperately lonely thing you have ever done? I went on Omegle a few days ago. Hard to get past all those dicks though. That's not too bad. Sometimes I do that when it's the middle of the night and there is nobody to talk to. Plus with COVID-19 it's harder to get out and see your friends. So you shouldn't feel bad about using Omegle. I used to pretend to be 18 when I was actually 15 so I could get people to have conversations with me on Omegle. Looking back, that was probably really dangerous and stupid. Hug my pillow and pretend it's a woman. I hugged my pillow and pretended it was my boyfriend. Which doesn't exist. You're not alone. Thanks for making me feel less like a loser. Now Kith. I keep my boyfriend's perfume with me in bed. Wrote a journal to my future self. I could send photos if you DM me. But basically I grew up in an abusive household with a dad suffering with PTSD and a mom who struggled to keep her family dream from falling apart. Dealing with the kind of remarks and events from my past kind of FD me up. But the journal basically said that if I ever made it to the 12th grade without committing suicide or ruining my life with or over some bullshit, I should reflect on my past and know that the me who wrote the journal loves them and is proud of who they became. And that even though my parents never told me that me was proud of me. On a brighter note, I read that journal yesterday. I'm an upcoming senior who is waiting enlistment into the army. My dream job. I like to think that the past me can envision this and know he would make it. All the kid really needed was a hug, man. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself, and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father, or mother, or wife, whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest. For he's with you, clear to the end, and you've passed your most difficult, dangerous test. If the man in the glass is your friend, you may fool the whole world down the pathway of years, and get pats on the back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears, if you've cheated the man in the glass. When I was younger, I once went and put my dirty clothes into a jacket and pair of pants so I could pretend I had someone to hug, cry on. Now I just become unstable and talk so much and push everyone away and then go, why does nobody talk to me? Paid $80 for a massage by a man because my husband hadn't touched me in months. I went to the grocery store so that I could hear someone talk to me when I was being rung up. I used to work in a pharmacy and a lot of the older people that would come in would stand at talk for ages. Even when I was done with their purchase advice. A lot of the time they lived alone and it was the only interaction they would have in the week. Broke my heart and I loved chatting to them and knowing how happy it made them. I hope you're less lonely now. Yikes. That's kinda funny but also sad. I hope you're not feeling so lonely now. Thanks. I'm good now. This was when my husband was on deployment and I had just moved to a new city and didn't know anyone or have a car or a job. I've never been close with my family or anyone, so I was pretty much just stuck in my apartment alone for 7 months. Being friends with someone even though I know he was fake, but I was so lonely that I hated it. I created an imaginary situation where I'm in a relationship and my GF does something asshole-ish. Then posted it on RIMITHE from the perspective of said GF so that people will talk about how great of a BF I am and how she doesn't deserve me. Could you link the post? Posts. All of that sub as a creative writing exercise. Buy something for myself and ask for it to be gift wrapped. Then drive across town to mail it back to your address right before they close so it will arrive a few days later. Skip the extra steps and just buy yourself something on Amazon while drunk. You'll get a surprise delivery in a few days. Oof, that is too real. Rereading text conversations with my ex. It took a lot of courage to delete that stuff. Chatting with Google Assistant. Pretending it's a real person and play games with it. Asking it to make jokes. Sing or read something. Go to the movies by myself. See, I love going to the movies alone. If I go with my girl, I'm explaining everything to her or she falling asleep on me. Either way, distracting me from the flick. If I'm with my buddies, it's not like I'm talking with them anyway. I don't understand why a lot of people are afraid to go to the movies alone. I can understand a pub or restaurant. But it's not like you have to interact during the movie at all. You're in a dark room for 2 hours watching the screen. There's no shame in that. You can go and watch whatever you want. Whenever you want. If you plan to go on a certain day or at a certain time and don't really feel like it, you can drop out without letting anyone down. The only time it's awkward is if you go to watch a comedy and have a loud or unusual laugh. I know this from experience. Ordering pizza and ask them to write "I love you" inside the box. For my girlfriend. I EVE alone after my fiancé left me for another guy a few years ago. I just wanted to read those words in another handwriting than my own again. I think you win. There are no winners here. I think. Someone will be writing those to you again. Just don't get emotionally stuck after the breakup. If you do, seek out therapy. Life is too short and goes by too quickly to be stuck in the past. Hopefully you are not. I always tell this story. My son moved to a city because he thought this girl he had dated all through college was the one. They dated 4 years. They loved each other. But it didn't work out. He was heartbroken. It took about 1.5 years, but then one day this beautiful dark-haired girl moved into his complex and he got the courage up to ask her out. Now 3 years later they are married and just had their first child in January. Moral of the story is that the wrong one leaving makes room for the right one to appear. Sorry if you didn't need to hear that. Spent 3 to 4 hours online talking to a cam girl. Mostly about normal stuff while I was drinking and spending $250 to $300 doing it. I created this thing in my head called a tulpa. His name is Luna and he's sort of an extension of myself. So think of it as an invisible friend. But only in your head. Created 2 different accounts to talk to myself. Shish. You're not supposed to tell them that. You don't tell me what to do. Yes, I do now, shut up. I have hired cam girls, but not to jerk off to them, just to talk to a woman I am attracted to and have her seem interested in me. Edit. I forgot about the time that I looked forward to my dentist appointment because I knew she would check the bone structure in my jaw, and I also knew it would feel really great to have someone touch me in a familiar way. I once called my cell phone from my parents' phone just to hear it ring. You've dredged up a memory. When I was a teenager. A couple of decades ago. I was sometimes so lonely and bored in the summer holidays that I'd just call a random number from our house phone hoping to have a random conversation with someone. That's cool TBH. 20 years ago I worked night shift in a hotel. About 1:00 a.m. our reservation phone rang and it turned out to be some middle-aged guy who was lonely and bored who just dialed a random 1-800 number. I was bored too, so we just bullshitted for over an hour. Went to junior prom by myself. Going to Sizzler by myself on Valentine's Day. They ran out of steaks before I could order. I can relate to that. Once I was excluded from a Halloween event that my friends were having. I ended up eating a large kebab by myself at the mall instead. The kebab itself was good. But it was probably the most depressing meal I've ever had. I saved a voicemail from a person at my last apartment complex letting me know what I should do with my key before I leave. At the end she says my name and tells me to have a good day. IDK. It's probably because she sounds so genuine. I used to listen to it a lot before I changed phones and couldn't access it anymore. Asking my doctor to tell my work I can only work certain hours because of my depression. When that's only half true. When I get home everyone is asleep and I'm very lonely, so by the way of my doctor forcing my job to give me the schedule one wants so I can get home when my family is still awake and I won't be so lonely. I've known psychiatrists to do this for nurses and machinists. Edit. And first responders. Machinists? Yeah. People who operate lathes, mills, gun drills, etc. to fabricate steel products or even other materials. If they are predisposed to depressive episodes, certain shifts can make that much worse. Fixtures in group therapy. The artist. Multiple nurses. Multiple EMTs. Multiple cops. Parents of addicts. Third shifters. Sexual identity crisis person. I sat in a class discussion of a different class just to talk to a girl and still didn't ask her for her number. The approach is difficult. Don't beat yourself up about it too bad. Lots of us dream or fantasize about what we may or could do. But it's tougher in real life. I get drunk, so I don't have to think about how lonely I am. I sent myself flowers once, complete with a secret admirer card. Sure, if I want flowers, I can just buy flowers. But there's a difference between just buying flowers and receiving flowers. That is pretty tragic, I have to admit. I tried playing Monopoly by myself. I paid a prostitute $800 for 45 minutes of spooning. May I ask, why so much? Desperation is a sad cologne. I'd do it for half. I was gifted one of those anime Dakimakura. I laughed at it, as it was a gag gift. But in reality I was so lonely at the time I got it. I hugged it every night before bed, slept with it next to me. I don't have it anymore. Because I got the help I needed and made new friends and stuff. But yeah, that's probably the loneliest I've ever been in my life. Some people are really prone to getting attached to inanimate objects when they are lonely. It's actually a really good coping strategy, as you can project your thoughts onto it and you feel like you have company. More adults should own teddy bears or something similar, as it can be like having your own therapist that can listen to you without judgment. Sure, and keeping journals are great as well. They're good as a creative outlet and a way of processing stuff that happens to you. This winter when I was plowing snow, I'd be out working all night and sleep most of the day, so I barely saw anyone. After a while I made a point of going out for breakfast every other morning after I was done, just so I had to talk to someone, because I came to the realization that I hadn't spoken aloud in almost 2 months. Think about having a child. There was a time in my life when I felt miserably lonely. I felt that I was not important to anyone and that no one really wanted to carry or helping to the deep sadness I felt because everyone had their own lives. And I thought about getting pregnant as the definitive plan to put loneliness aside. A baby would be wonderful because they would see me as the most important person in the life and would love me no matter what. Because I am their mother and I would raise them with all my love. Then I looked for psychological help and realized how crazy it would have been. Actually, I think it would have made everything worse. For all. Eating a snack inside a restroom cubicle. I can understand. High school flashbacks. Kiss my pillow. I has been several months since I had actual human contact. I am a trucker. 5 hat stays out for months at a time, and the quarantine came just as I was gonna go home, so I can't until it is lifted. I put a pillow in a coat that was hung up and hugged it. It must be tough being away for your family for so long on the road. I respect you for doing that job. Thank you, it is appreciated. When I took care of men in the hospital, I didn't realize how often men go without contact. Especially physical. And it was heartbreaking. I used to sometimes volunteer at elderly communities and give foot or hand massages. I had a few men break down crying. Craigslist SX. Back when Craigslist had personals. Nice things did not generally result from that process. Usually some combination of old, fat, blank. I used to love digging through the casual encounters section trying to spot the bots, catfishers, and fake accounts. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.